Good evening, people, my people. It's your girl, Dr. She Cole, the culturally kinky curator, bringing you another segment of Kinky Curations. I wanted to have a conversation this evening because there are a few things that are percolating around the news and in pop culture right now that I wanted to discuss. And in one of my last videos, I talked about individuals who are members of the Divine Nine, and I asked those who were in those organizations to weigh in on what they felt about individuals who may stray away from the brand or the tenets of an organization once you become a part of an organization and you start to act out in different ways that completely are the antithesis, if you will, of what the organization may represent from a historical standpoint. So many people, Greek and non-Greek, weighed in on the conversation. Very intellectual discourse, and I enjoyed reading the comments, and thank you for participating in the conversation. But at the end of the day, the holistic theme or the common theme from the comments was essentially this. If you elect to research and become a part of an organization, whether that's some place that you work or an organization that you wish to join, to go into that organization and then start to act counterproductively to the tenets of that organization is in essence disrespectful. So although I agree that people should be able to express themselves the way they see fit as individuals, you can represent yourself as an individual however you like. But when you are a part of an organization, you need to respect the boundaries and the constructs of that organization, along with however you feel you need to plug in while you're representing that organization. So individuality is out of the window, in essence, when you join a group. And that's the reality. Or start your own organization, and then it's a non-factor. So that's just that on that. Additionally, what I would like to say is I am so excited. I am almost at 500 subscribers. I'm at 499 right now, 499, and I have come such a long way with the help and support of other established YouTube influencers. Thank you again, Faye in the City and Narada, the African hair god. I so appreciate you all. Things have been on an upward trend ever since you all endorsed me. So thank you for that. And I'm going to continue to thank all of the subscribers that are joining in, and those who are watching. Please, if you have not subscribed, click like, click share, and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000, and I'm reaching that 500 mark. I have one more person to go. Hopefully I can gain a couple of more subscribers from this particular video, and we can make our way to the 1,000. So stay tuned. There's a lot of conversation around Monique and the bonnet conversation. And let me say this. I specifically have on one of my wraps from the Rap Life, who donated to my school. Thank you again, Rap Life Company, the CEO and management team of Rap Life. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for donating your on-ground stock for your store that shut down and you going exclusively online. You sent those Rap Life turbanettes, turbans, etc. to my middle school where I'm a principal, and the students loved the raps. Some of my staff members loved the raps, and clearly you see I got mine, so I'm loving it, and it matches perfectly with my pattern sweatshirt and my little African accent, so I try to pull it together. So I say that to say this: if I am going to leave my home, I was raised in a time where it was unacceptable for any person of color to leave the house with rollers, scarves, your hair not done, slippers. Pajamas was absolutely out of the question. And that was of that time in that generation. Now, I know that Monique is getting a lot of flack, so I'm not going to walk gingerly with this because I believe there is a standard of excellence that we have lost within the culture that should be revisited. I want to bring it back. I worked for the federal government for almost 10 years before I transitioned into education. And I had to go into various communities. And sometimes I would wear, full on suits and things of that nature, depending on where I was going. But if I was going into other areas where it was basically more dangerous and I had to camouflage myself a bit, I dressed accordingly. Now, my accordingly was like a J. Crew jacket, some jeans, some Doc Martin shoes that were very popular back in the day. Maybe some type of a designer baseball cap, and I would shimmy through. Now, someone told me you don't look like, you're blending, but that was the way that was the best that I can do with how I was going to blend. Within not wearing a suit and heels, but being able to be nimble and swift if I had to make moves. So, with that being said, I worked, of course, in a federal building that was attached to a bank, a corporate building with a bank in it. And I would always go into that bank and I would always have my credentials. And after a while, because they always saw me every week or every other week in a suit with my credentials, it got to a place where they never even asked me for my credentials anymore because they knew the feds who worked in the area. So one of the days when I had to dress down and I had my baseball cap on, I think maybe I had my contacts in, no glasses, whatever the case. And the same woman who always took care of me, seemingly for maybe 2 or 3 years at this point, she was like, ID, with an attitude. So when I presented my ID, it was like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was you. You look so different. And when my mother said to me for years, and I resented it on a level, you need to represent yourself in a way where people will always respect you. Because when you dress certain ways, people judge you and handle you differently. In that moment, her words resonated with me, and I was like, doggone it, yep, she was right. People do handle you a certain way based on how you carry yourself in various arenas. Now, going into a financial institution and trying to deal with money, that makes sense because it's a professional environment. I'm not saying this is applicable to someone maybe going into a club because the dress code and the culture and the standards are different. But we're talking about a level of professionalism. And there was a time when there was a standard of professionalism, even when you went around and about in your day-to-day movements that had nothing to do with work, i.e. going to the grocery store, going to the bank, going to the mall, things of that nature, traveling. So circling back to Monique and the bonnets, I have absolutely zero issue with any woman wearing their head wrapped up in something like this, a full turban, whatever it may be, whatever type of ethnic, fashionable thing you're doing, I have no issue with it. I know for myself, when my hair was permed and so forth, if I had to work with my hair not getting messed up, that's something that I would kind of sneak and do on the plane once I got in my seat. And I like to kind of cover my head a little bit, and I would do that. And then before landing, I would take that off my head, shimmy to the bathroom, comb my hair down, and I would get ready to walk off the plane. And in my generation as well, we got dressed to get on the plane. Like, you didn't get on the plane. I mean, when I traveled with my parents, my father was in a suit, my mother was in a suit, I was in a dressed down. I mean, that's just what it was. And I know it's not like that now, but I am hard pressed not to be dressed going on a plane. Now, would I wear something like this with some cute sweatpants and some cute sneakers, absolutely. I believe in being comfortable and presentable. But the disconnect for me with the bonnets, which has led into slippers, which has led into pajamas, which has led into what we're dealing with. As a culture, African Americans, women, and men and women of color have always been held to a different standard. Now, some might say being held to a different standard is unfair, and I'm an individual and I should be able to be myself and express myself accordingly. And you are absolutely correct. But there are societal norms that will put you into boxes that could be negative or positive based on perception. And everybody's perception is their reality. And what I'm saying is, as a collective, we see how we have been treated since the time of slavery. And there are certain constructs that I feel are our responsibility to uphold so that it's very difficult to mishandle us. Now, there have been men throughout history that have been lynched and they're wearing three-piece suits, or shot down in their at their hotels. Martin Luther King in a suit or in a dress shirt and pants. Medgar Evers shot down in his driveway in a suit. So I understand that a suit is not going to necessarily prevent you from being mishandled, mistreated, disrespected. All that is true. Those are extreme examples, but very real examples. And that's not just those examples. There are many, many like that. But my perspective is this. I remember watching all of the documentaries of Eyes on the Prize, Roots, Queen, all the Alex Haley mini-series and so forth. And the one thing that was very, very important in Black culture was from the times of slavery and being in the field. Because we were divided in classes: house, slave, field, slave. And not being given quality clothing and not being able to groom and have ourselves to a certain standard was a form of punishment to oppress. And when we had the opportunity to get dressed, to go to our form of worship or church, that was the opportunity where you can feel like a human being, more of a human being. So your hair was covered because you were working, in the field or working with food, and your hair was covered. As time transitioned, when hair was being done, Madam C.J. Walker and all those different things, although there's controversy around the formula of who came up with what based on some documentaries I've seen, but I'm not here to debate that tonight. I'm just saying there was an evolution of how we kept ourselves groomed and how we kept ourselves to be able to be respectable in society so that we could start to garner the respect that we deserve. And I believe the bonnet and the slippers and the pajamas are a complete disrespect to what our ancestors had to fight through to gain some level of respectability in society. It's disappointing to me. It's disappointing. And if you want to protect your hair because you just got your hair done or whatever the case may be, I think that you should do that. But I think that we need to take the time to pull it together to a level where it is, we're suitable to be in public. And items that are meant for evening wear or the bed should be kept in that box. Personally, I don't think it's acceptable. It's just like when I know I was growing up, and other people might relate to this. your mom or your dad or your guardian always encourage you, make sure you shower and you wash every day, and that you have on cleanly and clean and fresh undergarments, because if you get into an accident and you have to go to the hospital, you want to make sure that everything underneath your clothes is clean. Granted, that might seem silly, but it was that level of making sure that you're appropriate. And I agree with Monique. I do. I agree with her. I stand on my square. As women, I just feel we need to do better. We need to do better. I know that I was listening to one of Faye in the City's videos, and this was a topic I wanted to delve into before I even did this, but this one superseded. There's a certain level of luxury and opulence that women in general, I think, that may not have access to afford certain things, but particularly from a historical standpoint, Black women have not had access to, that we're starting to get into it more so now. I want to see us care for ourselves better than what we have done in the past. Self-care is very important. And self-care is inclusive of your grooming habits, your makeup, if you choose to wear any, but how you take care of your skin and how you present yourself to the public. And it's not like you're doing it for someone else's approval. You're doing it because you have a certain level of pride and expectation for yourself and how you want to present and what your brand is as a person, as a woman, as an individual, as a man, etc. That's something that I feel is lost. It's lost. And that has nothing to do with me being a certain age or, because I'm an OG. I wear it with pride. I'm an OG. I have no problem with it. Old school. But I'm definitely not stale, and I definitely keep it new. Okay? I believe in being stylish. I believe in being current. I like being, on point with my look, my leisure, and my luxury. I believe in all of that, because if you work hard, you should play hard, and you should reward yourself based on the fruits of your labor. Period. And being responsible with it. But there is so much to fight in society for every cultural group, because everybody has their own struggle. Every group has their own struggle, but collective knows no color and no boundaries. And there are certain historical lessons that we have lost in Black culture that we need to revisit. Did our ancestors fight to get out of the fields, to be released from a head wrap, so that we can wear, however you wear your hair, locks, freeform locks, sister locks, brother locks, natural hair, curly, kinky, coily, braids, relaxed, text-laxed, but groomed. Look at the pictures of people from the civil rights movement marching. Look at how they dressed when they went out. Look at how, when the Little Rock Nine dressed and the National Guard had to escort them into the school. Look at how they were dressed. And look at how far we've come from that. And how aspects of prison culture have seeped in and marinated in the fiber of our dress code. It's a problem, but yet we want to scream about having respect. And again, don't misunderstand me. You are more than what you wear. You are more than what you wear. There is a certain depth of knowledge that you possess as an individual, and you are more than your clothes. But what I'm saying is we have to deal in the reality that in society there are certain unspoken and spoken norms that unfortunately stereotype people, whether the stereotype is to the negative or to the positive, when typically stereotyping is negative. But you understand my point that I'm trying to illustrate. Represent yourself well. There are some gentlemen that I know that they are casual. That's how they dress. They don't wear suits, none of that. But they'll have on a clean shirt, clean shorts. The baseball cap will be clean, whatever the case may be. But that's how they present, because that's how they feel comfortable. They may be independent contractors. They have their own business. So they are their brand. So they don't need anyone dictating to them how to dress. They can do their own thing, which is great. But their pants are not sagging. It's appropriate. Well, and what is appropriate? Appropriate, rather. You can say, well, Dr. She Cole, that's passing judgment. No, it's not passing judgment. It's just talking about a standard. If the USDA, for those of you who eat meat, I do too. I like a rib every now and again. But for those of us that know that we like to buy a certain standard of meat, a certain cut of meat, that's a higher level of cut than another. If I want the filet mignon and there's a standard, I expect it to be moist, tender, succulent, and on the level when it hits the plate. There's a standard. And the money that I pay for it will garner that standard. But you can't want filet mignon respect when you're giving ground chuck presentation. Everybody has a standard, whether you agree with it or not. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know. Again, keep it respectful, keep it cute, because, you know, I am an educator and I am a teacher by trade. Comments that are ignorant will be deleted, but this is an opportunity to have a great discourse, whether you agree or not. Let's talk about it intelligently. And is Monique right or wrong? I support what Monique is saying. I get what she's saying. I don't suggest she roll up on anybody in the airport or Walmart and try to check somebody, because something about this younger generation, they don't, let me not be stereotypical and judge. Woo-hoo, I just caught myself. Not every young person wants to hear the wisdom and the sage advice from those who have walked the path before them. I know we didn't want to hear it, but we sat and listened to it out of respect. Some of these jokers now will just cuss you out, and you're going to be on a TikTok or on a video going viral that you don't want to be a part of. I'm not saying get up in people's business in the moment. Do that at your own risk. I wouldn't advise it. But in your community where you have a sphere of influence where people do receive you, what's your position on the issue? Or you're like, you know what, I don't have any position at all. That's their business, whatever. And that's respectable too, if that's what you want to do. But I feel like there's something that we need to unpack here a little bit. So I would be interested